Here is the biology lesson most people never get. Every animal that hunts does cost-benefit analysis before it commits to a chase. A wolf does not attack every deer it sees. It reads the herd, identifies the ones moving differently, the ones whose behavior reveals something about their physical state, and it selects the target with the highest probability of a successful return. The cost of a failed chase is real: energy spent, injury risk, time. So the selection is precise. It is not random, and it is not personal. It is efficient. Human social predators operate on the same principle. Manipulation is not primarily about malice. It is about efficiency. A person who relies on psychological control to navigate the world, to get compliance, emotional supply, labor, or validation from others, is running a constant ROI calculation, even if they have never consciously articulated it. They are scanning for the behavioral signals that indicate a high probability return on their investment of pressure. When they find those signals in you, they don't decide to target you. They simply move toward you, the way water moves toward the lowest point in a surface. This video is about understanding the exact signals that make someone a high-yield target, and then systematically removing them one by one until you register in the nervous system of every social predator around you as simply not worth the cost. The first signal manipulators detect is what behavioral scientists call reward prediction error sensitivity. This is the degree to which your emotional state fluctuates in response to unpredictable social inputs. When someone criticizes you unexpectedly, does your facial expression change? When someone withdraws their approval, does your behavior shift to try to recover it? These micro-reactions are visible. They signal to an observant person that your emotional state is controllable through the application of variable reward. This is the same neurological mechanism that makes gambling addictive. The manipulator is not your casino. But if your expressions tell them you're playing, they will take the house's position every time. The first law of becoming untargetable is the development of what researchers call affective stability, a trained reduction in the surface expression of emotional volatility, not suppression, stabilization. The second signal is response predictability. If a specific type of criticism always makes you over-explain, a specific type of silence always makes you chase, or a specific type of praise always makes you relax your guard, you have a map, and you have handed it to anyone who has spent 10 minutes observing you in a social situation. Law 2 is the deliberate disruption of your own patterns. Not to be difficult or inconsistent in ways that damage your relationships, but to retire the reflexes that are predictable enough to be used as levers. When you stop defending yourself against a criticism that used to reliably trigger a defense, you have removed a lever. When you stop chasing a conversation that used to reliably get a chase from you, you have removed a lever. Each lever removed is a reduction in your target profile. The third signal is the visible need for external resolution. Most people, after a conflict or a tense exchange, need it to end well. They need closure, clarity, or at minimum, a return to warmth. This need is entirely normal and almost entirely human. It is also a significant vulnerability because a manipulator who understands this need can keep you in a sustained state of managed tension, never fully hostile, never fully resolved, which creates a chronic seeking state that keeps you oriented toward them and compliant with their preferences. Law 3 is the development of self-resolution, the ability to close the loop internally, on your own terms, without requiring the other person to provide the conclusion. This is not about pretending conflict doesn't exist. It is about refusing to let someone else control when your nervous system gets to settle. The fourth signal is information transparency. Most people in the course of normal social interaction reveal their priorities, vulnerabilities, and emotional triggers quite openly, not through confessions, but through the way they talk about what matters to them, the things they react to, the subjects that make their voice change. To a manipulator, this information is a complete tactical map. Law 4 is radical selectivity about what you share, with whom, and when. Not secrecy for its own sake, not a wall. The deliberate choice to let your revealed preferences remain slightly incomplete in any single relationship, so that no one person holds the entire blueprint of what can reach you. The fifth signal is conflict avoidance at the cost of accuracy. People who will say yes when they mean no, agree when they disagree, or absorb an unfair characterization rather than correct it are not keeping the peace. They are paying a tax. And the people who collect that tax know, at the level of learned behavior, if not conscious awareness, that the tax is available. Law 5 is calibrated accuracy, saying precisely what is true in a neutral tone, without apology or aggression. When something is not accurate, you correct it once, calmly, and you do not negotiate the correction. This is not confrontation. It is the low-energy maintenance of a boundary that communicates without drama that the record matters to you. The sixth signal is what psychologists call sunk cost attachment. The tendency to stay in dynamics that have already cost you significantly because of the investment already made. This is perhaps the manipulator's most powerful tool because it requires no active effort on their part. Your own mind does the work of keeping you in the game. Law 6 is the development of clean exit criteria, specific, pre-decided conditions under which you will withdraw from a dynamic, regardless of what has already been invested. Not impulsive, not reactive, but genuinely non-negotiable thresholds that you honor before the sunk cost calculation gets big enough to override your judgment. The seventh signal, and the deepest one, is shadow blindness. This is the degree to which you are unaware of your own capacity for the behaviors you find most threatening in others. People who have fully suppressed their own capacity for coldness, manipulation, or strategic self-interest are not morally superior. They are neurologically undefended. They don't recognize these patterns early enough to respond to them, because the patterns are genuinely unfamiliar. Law 7 is the honest integration of your own full range. You have the capacity for strategic thinking, for coldness when it's warranted, for recognizing manipulation because something in you understands how it works. Acknowledging this doesn't make you a manipulator. It makes you a person who can see the game being played. Taken together, these 7 laws do not make you harder, colder, or more isolated. They make you more accurate. You stop absorbing costs you never agreed to. You stop running patterns that were installed by other people's agendas. You stop providing the specific data that makes you a high-yield target in the calculations of predatory people. Here is the inversion that most people miss. The goal of becoming untargetable is not about the predators, it is about you. The wolf doesn't change when it stops selecting a particular deer. The deer changes, and when it does, when the behavioral signals that once read as vulnerability are replaced by signals that read as awareness and stability, the predator simply recalibrates toward an easier target. Not because they were defeated, because you stopped being the most efficient option. The predator hasn't lost. You've just become someone they can't afford.